The word this week, outplayed. If you're not following the ongoing battle between Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and the mega company Disney, you are missing out on reality gold. Following up with this is constantly going back and forth. It started with the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida that's escalated to a back and forth of who owns what, who controls what. And this is what it comes down to, is DeSantis really thought Disney was a theme park company. In reality, Disney is one of the largest law firms in the world. With all the IP that Disney owns with Marvel, Star Wars, the parks, etc., with that much IP, you have to imagine those are the best lawyers in the world. That's who you're fighting. Disney is the best law firm masquerading as a theme park company, and it's not going super well for the governor. What do you call a droid who likes to take the scenic route? R2D2.
In my current job, I'm flooded with metrics. Reach, impressions, views, bounce rate, the list goes on. What is one metric you recommend focusing on in digital communications?
Super great question. I always say in my classes, the two things to really focus on if you want to get promoted as quickly as possible, especially in digital marketing. It's not the sexiest areas, but it's the areas that employers are seeking, the skill seeking for the most, research and metrics. If you understand metrics, you will kill it, absolutely kill it in digital marketing communication. There's a lot of metrics. I always say there's no North Star, right? There's no one thing that every single brand says that's the metric that really focuses on us as a business. But here's the big one. Here's a big one right now. This wasn't necessarily the number one 3 years ago. This is the number one metric, in my opinion, in 2023. And that is NPS, Net Promoter Score. At the very general sense, what Net Promoter Score is basically how willing are you to recommend the brand, the company, the experience to a family or friend. You've probably answered these surveys at some point on a email survey or whatnot of a Likert scale. How likely would you be to recommend us to a friend, a family, etc.? That's NPS. The reason for that is because of that brand loyalty. How brand loyal are you? And can we get you more brand loyal? Basically try to get you into a monogamous relationship. Here's a way to think about NPS. Here's just one way, is how do you leave the customer in the relationship? These are things like really high quality paper, right? These are things like when you ride a brand new ride, maybe at Disney World or etc. We pay for an employee when you get off the ride to give you a high five, smiley, Midwestern empathy and social skills, to give you a high five. Thanks for coming on the so-and-so ride. The feeling you have when you exit an experience has a big impact on how you feel about the brand. So if you're trying to increase your NPS scores, think about what does the customer go through in that ending moment of the relationship. They get off the ride, they schedule your pool company, they work with, Lululemon, whatever the case may be. What does that end look like? But NPS isn't just for businesses specifically. Think about other areas. In my opinion, the NPS of a city is the airport. The airport, why do I say that? It's because it's the first and the last experience you have in that city. When you leave, I'm about to head to Phoenix here, the experience when you leave Phoenix will be the airport. It's the last thing you hear of. Or think about the relationships you're in. If you start ghosting people all the time, that is part of that NPS of you as an individual. Or think about your career. If you think, I've been killing it the last 7 years, I just put my 2-week notice, I'm gonna slack off and do 10% work. To tell you the truth, from my experience, people remember more of your last 2 weeks of employment compared to the last 7 years, right? So make sure you go out on top thinking about your own professional NPS score.
I just graduated with my bachelor's, and I feel like I'm the only person in my graduating class who hasn't started their career. Others seem to already have these great jobs that they love, and I feel like I'm behind. I'm applying, but I feel a cloud of anxiety over me that I'm not succeeding like those I had class with just a few weeks ago. Is this normal?
First, the positive. Understand that this problem is a function of your opportunities. The business labor statistics say that on the average year, someone with a bachelor's degree makes $25,000 more than someone with a high school diploma. So understand that your ceiling is incredibly high. It may suck right now, but your ceiling is very, very high. Think about this. When you're older, you're going to be upset with yourself. Not because you didn't have the job that you had right at graduation like some of your peers have had because you were comparing yourself to them. You're going to be upset with yourself with how upset you were with yourself. This is what I mean. That's what I mean. At some point, this is going to happen multiple times in your career where you find out life isn't what Netflix and social media has you to believe. That everything's great, that I'm going to be drinking martinis during the day with my friends and driving in Uber black cars all day. It's just not reality. And this is the first time, but it's going to happen multiple times over. Don't compare yourself to others. Here's a golden rule no one's talking about. Here's a big secret. Big secret. No one's got that figured out. To tell you the truth, everyone puts on this idea that we've all got it figured out. No one does, right? This is your journey, and everyone's journey looks different. But here's some tactile steps you can take immediately. First, keep applying. Applying is like a full-time job all by itself, right? It takes a lot of energy. But don't get in this trap where you only apply for positions that this is the dream position. That position, it's like a 6 out of 10. I'm not going to apply for that one. Don't do that. Apply for as many positions that you say, this wouldn't be absolutely horrible. You don't know how great or bad something is when you're outside of the box. Apply for as many positions as possible so you can kind of get those interviews, get a sense of what that culture is like within that organization. Is it the industry that you planned since you were 12? Maybe not. But also when you were 12, you were told you could be the president or have perfume or cologne named after you. Things change, right? Get that interview and see, maybe this would be an interesting fit. I just never thought of myself in that position. So apply. Then, may it balance that part-time work, whatever work you're doing right now, with mental health, right? Because it does sound from this message that I'm kind of hearing from this message that there's stress, right? There's a lot of stress weighing over you. So think about weighing that with mental health. What does it look like for you? Is it talking to friends? Is it talking to a therapist? There's a lot of options, even digital now, that are really, really fantastic. Also, think about looking at your career services at university, right? You paid that tuition, right, for this bachelor's degree. You have access to those career services. Get humble if you're not talking about it, and be completely humble with them and say, hey, I'm having an issue. I'm not exactly sure what area to look into. I'm not sure exactly what I'm doing wrong in interviews. They'll mock interview you. They'll help you look for and create searches for positions. Use that career services 100%. And the last thing to think about, kind of more not as tactical about finding that job, but kind of state of mind. I found, we're kind of reflecting back, especially when I was younger, is when I was the most stressed. When I had the most anxiety in my life. Looking back, I kind of realized that the situation was about 40% of my stress, right? What was going on, the job, the work stuff, the life stuff was about 40%. And my mental state was about 60% of that stress. I was going over and over again. What should I have said in this situation? What should I have done in this situation? I just constantly that was about 60% of my stress. So understanding where your stress is coming from, right? If you think about your mental health first, if you're like me, that'll decrease that stress quite a bit. Understanding not everything is in your power. What other people are doing, your peers are doing, etc., isn't the path for everyone. It's probably not as luxurious or fantastic as they may say on Instagram, right? Everyone's facing stresses. Everyone's trying to figure it out all at the same time. I'm still trying to figure it out. Every professional every CEO, everyone's trying to still figure something out. So keep that in mind, that there's a situation and then there's your mental space, right? We can have control over the mental space. Sometimes we don't have full control over the situation, but we do over the mental space. Everyone's got to figure that out. I'm sending you good vibes right here, and know that I am 100% your cheerleader.